The dust in the thrift shop was ancient, smelling of forgotten attics and yellowed paper. I was sifting through a rack of moth-eaten coats when I saw it perched against a wall of mismatched china. A portrait of a woman. It wasn't the skill of the brush strokes that caught me, but her eyes. They were a startling shade of blue-gray, like a storm over the ocean, and they held a melancholy that felt directly aimed at me. Without a second thought, I bought her for $20. The old shopkeeper shrugging, as he took my cash, indifferent to the treasure he was letting go. I hung her on the bare wall of my studio apartment, the only thing I'd bothered to decorate since moving to the city. The painting, Irene, transformed the space. The weak afternoon light that struggled through my fire escape windows seemed to fall on her differently, making the pearls at her neck gleam and the deep maroon of her dress look lush and expensive. I'd talk to her sometimes, a foolish habit for a lonely man. Rough day, Irene, I'd say, or can't believe the price of coffee anymore. She just stared back, her smile a gentle, closed-lipped secret. The first time it happened, I blamed it on cheap whiskey and exhaustion. I was half asleep on my couch when a movement flickered in my peripheral vision. I turned my head, and for a split second, I saw her not on the canvas, but sitting in my armchair. Her form slightly translucent, shimmering like heat haze on summer asphalt. She was looking out the window at the city lights. I blinked, and she was gone. My heart hammered against my ribs. A trick of the lights, I told myself. Just a trick. But she came back. Night after night, her visits grew longer, her form more solid. She never spoke, but she would listen, her head tilted in a way that showed she understood every word. I found myself confessing things to her I'd never told another soul, my fears of fading into obscurity in this massive city. The loneliness, that was a constant, dull ache in my chest. She'd just smiled that knowing smile, and her silent company was a balm I didn't know I needed. One night, she was clearer than ever. I could see the delicate lace on her cuff, the way a stray curl escaped her intricate. I sat on the floor, leaning against the couch, and whispered, "Who are you?" She turned her stormy eyes on me, and for the first time, her lips parted. Her voice was like the faintest chime of a bell, a sound felt more than heard. "Irene," she breathed. "Call me Irene." A warmth spread through me, a connection so profound it felt like finding a missing piece of my own soul. Our silent conversations became my entire world. I'd rush home from work, eager to see if she'd appear. I started buying nicer wine, playing the kind of soft jazz I thought she'd like. I even read poetry aloud, and once, I swear I saw her sigh with contentment. I was in love with a ghost, a memory trapped in oil paint, and I didn't care. She was more real to me than anything else. The need to know her true story became an obsession. I spent days at the library, scrolling through microfiche records of old society pages. I searched for artists' names, for women named Irene from the apparent turn-of-the-century era of her dress. I had to know the woman behind the smile. I had to prove to myself, in some small way, that she had been real. I finally found it. A small, grainy engagement announcement from 1912. Irene Weatherby, daughter of. The description matched. And next to her name was the artist, a man hailed as a rising star. My heart leaped, but as I read on, my blood ran cold. The article detailed the tragedy. Irene had fallen ill with influenza just weeks before the wedding. She never recovered. The artist, heartbroken, had vanished from high society, his promising career never materializing. He had, the article speculated, kept the last portrait he ever made of her. I ran home, my hands shaking as I fumbled with the keys. I burst into my apartment, my eyes flying to the wall. She was there, in her frame, her smile as gentle as ever. But something was different. I approached slowly, my breath catching in my throat. There, nestled in the painted shadows at the base of the canvas, almost invisible, was a small, etched signature. Not the artist's name. It was a single, heartbreaking word, scratched into the paint by a desperate, grieving hand. Mine. I looked at her eyes, and for the first time, I saw it not just melancholy, but the profound, eternal sorrow of a love interrupted, a life unfinished. She wasn't a daydream. She was an echo. And I was just another lonely soul, listening for a voice that could never truly call back. I stood there for a long time, my fingertips hovering just inches from the canvas, from the word that was both a claim and a prison. Mine. The warmth I'd felt from her presence now felt like a cold draft from a century ago. She wasn't my companion. I was his audience. I was just a temporary keeper of a relic haunted by a possessive, century-old grief. That night, she appeared again. She was more vivid than ever before, a vision of sorrow and grace in the dim light of my apartment. She reached out a translucent hand, not towards me, but towards the space beside her, an invitation to join her in that silent, timeless world. Her stormy eyes were full of a promise on end to my loneliness, an eternity inside the painting, inside his memory. And for a terrifying, exhilarating moment, I wanted to say yes. The ache of my own solitude was a heavier weight than the fear of the unknown. To trade this empty reality for her haunting company felt like a fair deal. But I looked at the signature again. Mine. It wasn't a term of endearment. It was a brand. His love wasn't a sanctuary. It was a cage. He hadn't painted her to set her free. He'd painted her to keep her. Forever. I loved her, or the idea of her. But I realized true love, even for a ghost, shouldn't be about possession. It should be about release! I can't, I whispered, my voice cracking. Irene, you don't belong to him. And you don't belong with me. Her beautiful face faltered. The gentle smile vanished, replaced by a profound, aching confusion. She began to fade, the edges of her form dissolving into the motes of dust dancing in the air. You're free, I said, the words a final, painful goodbye.